We believed upon the constitutional mechanism in terms of the democratic king. Here is the chance of the chanceness of voiceness. We know that how important the voice of the voiceless people, the voice of the voiceless people depending upon the pressure group. It is not that only the group is pressurized for the something objective. Here is a lot of difference between objective and subjective, right? When it is an objective, when the particular actions of the particular group are mentioning upon the great wisdom which we need to be and which they need to be. That is the whole essence here. And pressure group are both in a positive way, both in a negative standard. It's not the hierarchy. Once upon a time we believed our colonial British government are ruling upon, and after that past 90, from 1857, the first independent revolt, and after the 1947, the independent, which actually we gained up. What was the condition? We got to know to fight the freedom, right? That is one action. And another one, after 1948 to 2000, what was the condition? India is grown up for the national building, capacity building, and manifesto for the social justice. That's why the planning commission, first planning commission, fifth planning commission, 12th planning commission happened. And late 2000 to current 2025, the significant factor which is contributed is digitalization, globalization, sustainability, right? So, if you preoccupy the three phases of India, so far from the 1857 to 2025, we are mentioning upon the freedom, we are mentioning upon the validity of the justice, we are mentioning upon the ethos of significant economic and sustainability with respect to inclusivity, right? That was the action, was one contribution is pressurized group, pressure group. It is also known as the linkage between the government and the linkage between the society. It's not whole picturized, only you know that charity, NGO, PDS and SHG, that individual participation is a key pillar there. But here the collective responsibility is major action providing any to regard the change. Agreed. And if we come across the personality, the great legacy, youth empowerment, I have emphasized Swami Vivekananda, the great youth icon. How far he suggested the youth modification, what to be need to do, develop our India. India is not in a grade of any manifesto. There is no manifesto over there, but the condition assessment from internal, soul to mind, mind to soul was the key pillar. That was Swami Vivekananda emphasized, right? So, if you come across, it is also a pressurized for them, those who are fighting for the freedom, those who are early of 40% of the poverty, but still now it is 10%, even invisible poverty are more. So that Swami Vivekananda Tattva Siddhanta helped many aspirant and nascent also, right? That was the pressurized. Here there is a lot of distinguished factor. One is pressure. For what? To whom? Too far? How far? This is the questionary factor. Pressurized for the positive sense that laid upon the national capacity building. Pressurized for the negative sense that lead and end upon the bloodshed. We have witnessed the negative concerns from the nationalism. We know that Udupi, coastal Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and we also witnessed from 1993 assassination of Honorable Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi from Sri Lanka to India, right? That Prabhakaran, correct? That was the group of force who want to kill our PM, Honorable PM, for their nascent and after theory. That is a Tamil rebellion force. So this is a challenge. And also, why nationalism happened? Even though it is also one kind of pressure group. They want some objective, they want to fulfill them in the way they want. That's not the correct. Here the procedure is matters a lot. You consider procedure established by that concern. One thing is you can witness Swami Vivekananda, who contributed the motivation, that is the procedure. Another one is Mahatma Gandhi. He emphasized the non-violence, that is one kind of procedure. And another one in a negative standard. We face the estimate and moderate phase, right, in freedom struggle. Moderate phase is what appealing to the British government and making the rule played very massively in a smooth vibe, in a soft power. But in estimate mode, killing upon the British ethos and boycotting the suggested rules by the British in a massive scale will give bloodshed. Agreed. In the neutrality, we the INA, who found that INA, Indian National Army, Subhash Chandra Bose, he may be a neutral but in a significant, brilliant way, right? So, in pressurized group, both negative and positive phenomena are arises, but in a particular modesty. And let us concern how far pressure group are linked with the government and what for the society need a pressure group, in what condition the linkage between society and specific interest are matters. Here the quote you interest, specific interest. What do you mean by specific interest? Specific interest means there is an objective, for that there is a subjective. If your objective is clear, then the subjective won't need. But the subjective is in a negative stand, you cannot open up the massive chain there. The subjective should be positive, which should be obeyed by all the individuality, all the concern of the society. Then only the activists are propagate their agenda in a reasonable manner. Okay, that was the essence. And there are essential democratic pluralism. What do you mean by pluralism? There is a lot of difference between pluralism. See, if in my class I can emphasize one thing to somebody, another one to another one, somebody to somebody. But all the actions are collective responsibility to meet the objective, that is the essence here. If the change happens for a reason, for a specific concern, what change I have developed myself, that is the first ethos here. If I want to change something, I have to change myself first, rather somebody. I cannot impose the change unless until myself will be changed. And myself will be practicing more mock tests, more mains, more interviews, right on. Then only I can share it on. Otherwise, it won't be practically feasible. That is what the gap between the pressurized group here. That is what the gap between nationalism and the positive pressurized group. The whole essence. And I have to emphasize the political science here. Political science mentioned, the pressure group is a influence group of policies. Only the pressure group are maintaining about the policies. The policies are the scheme or the innovation are happening for the collective resource, right? Mobilization of the resource, one to one person to one. You know that in an anthropological sphere or the psychological sphere, every individual are changing their culture, diversity and modesty, even the soft and hard power. Somebody are very intellectual enough, somebody are emotional enough, somebody are neutral enough. We don't know, but so far our objective should meet in a particular junction. Then only the pressurized group are very positive way. Otherwise it won't be. And second phase, if I want to say, is there any particular condition that okay, this is my pressure group, I have only emphasis for this? No. Pressure group means any kind of objective, any subject which is interest of the nation that can be propagate towards the procedure, then only the pressure group happened. Example, Swami Saraswati Ananda, he propagated the peasant movement for the farmers. Amartya Sen, he empowered the poverty. What do you mean by poverty? He wrote on poverty tremendously, the democratic sense, how the poverty. He only suggested that poverty is not a issue. They are not a beggar. They are not a collective resources. They are not capacity oriented. We have to build the capacity. That is also one kind of objective. And if you concentrate three phases from the freedom struggle, one is key pillar is Mahatma Gandhi. He emphasized the truth. He emphasized the non-violence. He is very softy in nature. But whereas if you concentrate Bhagat Singh, he is estimate. He wants to reasonably boycott the British in his own way. That is also one kind of pressurized for the British colonial, right? And also if you concentrate Dadabhai Nauroji, in an economic drain theory, you know that economic drain theory, how far, what far, that's the modesty. Even he suggested the economic principle, how to be, what need to be for the British compare. Even he was a modernist, right? That is also one kind of pressurized group. This is one concept from 1857 to 1947. Let us concentrate, that was the year of 90 years, right? 1857 to 1947 is a 90 year. After 1848 to 2000, how many years was there? 53 years. The 53 years we are witnessing economic liberalization concept, 1991 liberalization, P.V. Narasimha Rao committee and Honorable ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and ex-RBI Governor, such a massive intelligence in economic sphere. He wrote a book. He did sufficient economic sphere of how far India should develop, right? That is also one kind of modularity. You know the project, any project has its own objectives. That objective should fulfill, then the recommendation arises, then any objective, any project, there is a limitation, right? You cannot fulfill the whole thing, but still, past 53 years of from 1948 to 2000, we developed poverty eradication program, hunger neutrality, and so gender inequality. We eradicated that. And manual scamming. You have a topic on my own GS2, manual scamming. Now it is not there. That's a respect movement, self-respect movement from Ramaswamy Iyer, correct? So, these are all the picturized if you concentrate, where India, how India, for what India. India is developing in such a significant era. And currently, after 2000 to 2025, there is a 25 years. So, 25 years what we have done, sustainability, economic transaction, global integration, right? After World War I, after World War II, global integration. That is the massive challenge. That's why UN Security Council and Sustainable Development and also Shanghai Cooperation, Asia Development Board are arranged in such a brick, stark, that all came in a significant way. So, if you concentrate the 90 years of the past legacy and 53 years of the past legacy and 25 years of the past legacy, how an fulfillment of the objective arises from the pressure group. That is the key pillar here. So, whole picture in a one shot I can say, this is the linkage between the government and the citizen. The pressure group activists are important, where the procedural established by the activist are significant positive way, otherwise it won't be. You know 2011 Anna Hazare movement, anti-corruption movement, what invented? Delhi, Delhi CM Agarwal, Kejriwal, that was the invention. But the positivity came to negativity, right? There is no corruption, still there is a corruption. Even the party which is hoping for the non-corruptivity, right? That is the negative standard. You see, this is the role played by the pressure group. I have mentioned several distinguished factors and objective concern is not necessarily, it should be subjective. One is policy formulation. Who is going to be formulate the policy? One is government, another one is CSR, corporate social responsibility. CSR in their own way to liberalize the business economic model, but government is the welfareism, right? There the pressure group arises. The individual, see example FICCI, what do you mean by Food Corporation India, right? The granaries, Punjab and Haryana, granaries of the food. But despite anthropological natural calamity happen, when there is no food, then the godown is not filled enough, then the protest will be arises. That is the pressurized movement for them. And also interest articulation, marginalized specialized group. What do you mean by that? LGBTQ community, women, and also the linguistic minority, and also the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, right? Those who are marginalized, but they are individual. Their contribution is massive enough, but the utility of the contribution is not that much. That is the criteria. So for that pressure group arises. Here the role means for what arises, that is the question. And see, political education and awareness. RTI movement you have witnessed the 2005, RTI, Right to Information, RTI, correct? There, the spread awareness of the gender and labor right through the RTI significantly contributed manifesto. RTI came with the women empowerment, no, RTI came with the empowerment of the transparency. That was the pressurized movement. Any objective to fulfill, that was an agenda. And see, second, arbitrary power. What do you mean by arbitrary power? Especially they are quote civil society pressurized during the Lokpal movement. We know that Lokadalak, Lokadalak in central, Lokapal is Lokayukta in state, right? What was the function? What they are doing? They are curbing the corruptions between the policy makers and also for the executive bodies, right? This initiative came from the pressure group. We need such a kind of massive India. We need such a kind of massive collective responsibility like that. And strengthen the participatory democracy. If India is not okay with the participation, what will be happen? You are coming for the participant, you are coming, you are not coming. What is the takeaway? That means your objective is fulfilled for an individual hierarchy, not the collective responsibility. When the collective responsibility are not arises, then there is no pressurized. When there is no pressurized, what you need, it cannot be fulfilled, even though you need it, right? That's why many subjects are changing enough with the scenario. Earlier 2000, what kind of laptop, what kind of computer was there? Now what kind of computer is there? That's the innovation and evolution. Thinking on mindset is the key pillar here. Not necessarily the pressure group is intensified, investigation and amplified. There are three concepts. Intensified means how intensified, how intensively you are talking upon that particular objective. And you know that modesty, judicial legal intervention. What do you mean by that? Public interest litigation. How many of you are knowing it? Public interest litigation means there is some subjective, for that an objective is there. It's for the whole society. We want that, but we have to fight that. That is what the public interest litigation, right? For a specific features. Agreed upon or not? You know, for example, there is a seventh wonder, one among is Taj Mahal. And there industry, air pollution and water pollution happened. The chemical effluent are coming upon and sucking the whole atmosphere of envy condition of Taj Mahal. For that, the public interest litigation happened. Even Narmada Nadi, Narmada Bachao Andolan came from the pressurized group. That kind of activist also get to positive sense. It should be mandatory. And you see, MC Mehta versus Union of India case on environmental issue, one of the flagship issue, and it is also called as landmark judgment. And second phase, Vishaka versus Union of Rajasthan, State of Rajasthan. Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan. What was the condition? Sexual assault for the women. We have witnessed the Paschim Bengal, one among the MBBS doctors has been raped, but a serious investigation happened. But despite, in Karnataka, in our own village, Dharma, nothing will happen, even for the 11 years. Even the pressurized group or activists are more compassionate towards there. That is the gap between them. To whomsoever concern, what for our concern is important. There is I always emphasize there is an important and immediate. Here what is an important? Important means how far you are prolonging up. Immediate means in what way you are prolonging up. Then only the pressure group arises. And see, type of pressure group. One is business. Business group is more on to gain the profitability, to reduce the risk of profitability, to innovate the business model. Example, we can have Ambani, Adani company, group of companies, so on. Here the confidence of motion is only to benefit for tax reduction, otherwise anything which is related to business, CSR, like that. And see, trade union, you know, labor force organization, right? They strike massively, but if you giving an example of Japan or Germany, if they are strike, they are not boycotting, they are giving a product halfly. That means if they want to build a shirt, they build halfly in a massive scale, but remaining half of the shirt they are not manufacturing. What will happen? The time is more, they are more manufactured, but it is not for the use of any society. Then there is no business arises. That was the condition. But in India, boycotting means boycotting. Not doing means not doing. Right? What is the difference here? Ideological difference. Right? They are valuing for the time, they are valuing for the work. They are doing, but the strike is same pattern. Here they are not at all valuing for the time, they are not at all doing work, but the strike is waste enough. Right? And also, agriculture and farmer group. You know that in the year of 2020, the farmers ruling happened, Essential Commodity Act and APMC market, intervention of the corporate body to farmer, regulation and so on. That was the bill taken by the union government. But the strike happened for the massive way. One is Punjab, Haryana, Chhattisgarh and half north of the UP, Uttar Pradesh, and still Karnataka also one among the participants is there. They striked for a year to year, at least for 2 years, then whole the bill will be cancelled by the union of government. That power is there for the pressurized group. How it is possible to take away means the possibility arises in a positive sense. They strike in a right path. Here is the path is a key pillar. Right? We know that a communal dismatchment means nationalism. Right? They don't like a politicians, they don't want any kind of soft nature, they want a killing up, weapons, guns, they talk in a guns, they eat in a guns, they sleep in a guns. right? That is the way of their propaganda. But it is not going to fulfill. Even you can witness the Maharashtra government surrendered. Naxalism surrendered. One fellow came, he is the captain of the group, he surrendered and he came up. Even Udupi Hebri most Naxalism involving village, Hebri. And even coastal of my Venuru, Murubigri, so on. In Karnataka junction. If you concentrate in Kerala, Kannuru, like that. So, anything which is related to negative, that won't be suffice for the longest term. So, okay, what was the real agenda for the pressure group? How come it is possible? Okay, you are the pressure group, you are in the right path. How come it is, when it is, the objective is in a long lasting. Long lasting means sustainability. Sustainability means long term, right? Clear objective should be matched in such a sphere of longevity, then only it will come. Otherwise, it won't be. Otherwise, it is like a cracker of pataki, right? Yeah. And student youth organization, ABVP, RSS, ABVP. You tell me, what was the plurality in a positive sense of ABVP and what was the plurality negative sense of ABVP? There is a positive thing, but still there is a negative thing. Positive thing in a ABVP means they are collective enough. They are massive work for the welfareism of the student. And we know that Honorable Nitin Gadkari sir and Honorable Arun Jaitley, he was passed away. He came from ABVP wing only. Even BJP, some of the eminent personalities came from the ABVP group only. They have a mindset and they have a vision. But problem is how sacrificed towards the ABVP than seeing our individual growth. Students are not knowing it. Just because of they are participating RSS, they are participating ABVP, not necessarily they are growth. Not necessarily they are grown. There is a two hierarchy. If you participate, you participate. If you want, you want. But still, what is your contribution individually? What is your growth? This is one wing. This is one wing. What concentration you have made for your welfare of the individuality? What contribution you made for the family? What contribution made for individual? Nothing. Then there is no use. If your participation and your good work for the procedure is happy for your family too and individual growth too, then it is right. See, many people are in ABVP, many people in some of the any organization, even myself also. But our own individuality is not raised, then it is no use. What for it will be, right? Collective change happens for the collective mindset only. And individual change happens when collective responsibility meets the individual needs. Otherwise, the means and needs are waste, right? And environmental civil society group. You know, Narmada Bachao Andolan, there is a lot of pollution of the water, and Narmada Bachao, Ganga River project, right? And Greenpeace India, what do you mean by that? We know that 176 out of 180 NV performance right now, the climate actions, the 1.5% degree Celsius are rising for that. And Center and Science of Environment, this is one organization purely depending upon the NV concern, purely. Statistically, you concentrate. You know that 3.1 million NGO and for 1.67 registered. Thereby, 14% of the NGO are pressurized group. What they are pressurizing? If they have a collective mindset, they only can do the charity. They can mitigate the problem in their own. Why the pressure group of 14% of the NGO are arising? Means everything is not in our hand. We have to obey the government orders. We have to obey the private, social, corporate responsibility. We have to seek ourselves with the individual participation. For that, 14% of the NGO are propagated. On that particular 14% of the NGO About 6% of the NGO, half of it, are not willing to give their performance in a beauty way. It is the lagging behind. And see, 25% of the PIL, public interest litigation, Supreme Court and High Court, filed by the pressure group. Is it correct or not? Correct. Why? It's a collective responsibility. Myself is one among the pressure group, and you, and you, and you, all 4 pressure groups in an individual organization. You put a fine on case. What will happen? Is it a resolved case? Pending of cases will be raised 1.8 lakhs crores, right? This is the challenge. If we can able to change, suppose I have went Nekravati. I went to Nekravati and there is a pollution there. We cleaned up. We cleaned up as a youth organization in my coastal, some regional, it's not a huge youth organization. It's a very village petty thing. I participated. It is my contribution. That's more than enough. I don't have any name, I don't have any greed, I don't have any WhatsApp status on that per time. WhatsApp is not there because I am telling it in my degree days. I don't have a mobile there. Okay. This is the challenge. People want their pressure group for their name, for their winning, not their winning, for their hierarchy, projection. That is the challenge. And see, landmark judgment, PUCL versus Union of India, right to food, Article 21, and Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, right to respect, Seshwanagat, and MC Mehta versus Union of India, right to environmental justice, Article 21. This is all talk upon the Article 21, right? So, the pressure group are mainly concerned about social justice in terms of Article 21, right? Yeah. And constitutional validity, I have spoken the grassroots of democracy with respect to 2 pillars. One is government and public. The public, when what kind? Through the NGO charities or the pressure group. When NGO charities are not effective enough to do the things, then the pressurized group arises. No, you have to. That kind of pressure happens. And see, challenges, when you implement the challenges here, if you convert modernist to Islamist, I am not talking about the colonial British rule or what was happened in such a way. Or if you concentrate, deviate from soft power to hard power, then there is no use here. You are an educated boy, young youth, educated girls, young youth. Contribute your own way. That is the pressurized movement. Nothing will happen for a reason. Nothing will happen for a change. If you want to change, you be the change, then you propagate the change. Then it will be significantly massive. Otherwise, who will trust? Here, pressure group is the trustee partnership, right? You know, Sustainable Development Goal number 17, partnership goal. This is the collective responsibility. This is the topic of the collectivity. So, if you are not changed, how come you are possible to change? That is the key pillar. And overburden of regulation. Some states are not having the ethos of somebody's interest. Okay. They are changing up, they are boycotting that organization immediately. Is this the way? How come it is possible to maintain the Article 21? How come it is emphasize the freedom of speech? What was the dignity of the respect, which is a human-centric approach? What was the obligation necessarily for the boycotting of the strike? Right to strike is also in Article 21. If some tribal people, if I concentrate the tribal people, they want a dwelling up of forestry, they are the mother of forestry, the tribal are the mother of forestry, but despite we are not looking upon, they are striking for their individual power, but we are not giving up. Who the mistake is? The mistake is the concerned government, not the necessarily the society. What they need, government is made for the society, not for the government. How many of you agree? Government is made for the society, not for the government. That's why the limit, that government is the best that governs the least. Agreed? Yeah. And the restricted law on funding. You know, for every work there is a fund functionary mechanism are important. Without the fund you cannot generate anything. And some of them are in a sports boys and sports girls, they are running for a marathon for a cause. Right? And you can even mentioning upon Isha Foundation, the Isha Foundation guru, he traveled for the bike in an international sphere to save soil, right? That was the individual participation, even that age. Great honor and limited inclusiveness in decision. Here is the challenge in the decision making, because there are many people who are willing to participate there, but despite the many people's interest is not matching enough. The interest is differ, the decision will be differ. When the interest is not meeting up, the objective is not successive, then the subjective matters is interface, the immediate effect cause is not restlessness. How come it is possible to voice of the voiceless people there? Agreed? And see, inadequate representation of the marginalized community. Okay, myself is born in a some caste. Whether it is my mistake? No. I born for the, I don't know, but the maintaining the obligation for the religion modesty is my task. Not necessarily I have to boycott somebody's modesty on a religious matters, right? How come the pressure group are emphasized on it? You know that the past legacy of independent colonial sphere, the Christianity monarchy are influenced the Hindu monarchy. How many of women, Hindu women are raped from the Christian monarchy? I am not necessarily influencing the Christian is a bad, or Hindu is a good, or Hindu is a bad, Christian is a good. But they respect each other from the human centric, then the religion concept will be arised. Only the religion is maintaining for their willingness, their belief, not necessarily for their obligation. And you know, concentrating of conflict between the interest between NGO and corporates. What do you mean by that? You know the trust is not having CAG. NGO is giving a fund for the specific reason of task of their interest. Corporate social responsibility, if they want, they will. Now it is mandatory. And they are giving a huge, NGO is a little bit slow down than the CSR, there the coupling happened. Even if the company wants to give their charity, they should open the trust, right? That act again NGO. This is the problem. Agreed? You want help? How come you are going to ask them? Go with the NGO, right? Whether the NGO belongs to private or the individual participation, that you don't know. You know that, that is the challenge. If you know that, you can seek well. If you don't know, you cannot seek well. Somebody wants to have an education sphere. I want to do the MBBS. I don't have money. I will go there. I will ask you, you are the buddy of corporate, you are the buddy of NGO. But your interest is not matching me. How come you are going to give? Even you are that same 14% of the NGO, the same 1.6 lakh registered NGO, they are not winning. This is the challenge. For an individual, there is no growth. For a collective, if somebody wants to join the Jnani, whether the collective responsibility of the corporate body are arises, then it is good. Otherwise, no, right? According to me, I can say one thing. Food, education, health, and respect, be it women, be it men, and be it transgender, be it LGBTQ community, be it animal, be it birds, has its own significance. If you are capable enough to do the respect to each other, then you are good. Otherwise, you are a bad. And some preposition and some propagation are neutral enough to deal the things. We cannot change that. That is the challenge of the pressure group. And see the case study wonderfully. I mentioned September 2022. There are 4 bills are commenced from the Union Government budgetary. One is the essential commodity, agreement on the price assurance of the farmer and empowerment of the production, and also the promotion of the facilitation of act. What was that? This is the CSR corporate body involvement. But our Raitapi Varga or our farmers are not willing to ask them, not willing to gain them, because it is my land, I have to cultivate, I have to produce, I have to do the business, what for I have to give the lease to corporate body. Then what was my condition? That was the condition of 2020, after the COVID recognition, right? Immediately they are striking up and all the 4 bills vanished. That is the power when the positive concern, right? And till today, one quote is there: if Punjab and Haryana farmers are striking, whole India gone away. You know why? They are the granaries of India. They are the feeders of India. They are the mothers of India. Like that. Yeah, if you concentrate the linkage between the sustainability towards the contribution, see here I mentioned the XG, right? Why? Little bit confused? No. Central group means they are also a pressure group. It's not that. See, pressure group means it may be a charitable trust, it may be a civil society, it may be an NGO, it may be a central group. If they are willing to contribute, but still the government or nexus are not willing to ease out the ease of doing business, then the propagation of the pressure group happens. It's not a body of pressure group, oh, you are the pressure group, you are the NGO, you are the SSG. No. You don't know who is the pressure group there. Some pressure group are arranged for the community welfare, some pressure group arranged for the linguistic welfare, Kannada, Karnataka and Maharashtra, like that, example. That's what the change. And what was the contribution from SDG to 17, if I talk about many things, all the 17 sustainable development goals have its own significance from the both NGO, SSG, PDS, charity and pressure group. That's what I can mention. That's what the participation goal of union sphere, collective responsibility. And you know, pressure group are the oxygen for the democracy. Why? Pressure group are oxygen. Why? You have a problem, you have a problem. If you want to mitigate myself, then there is no way, but I will give an actionable plan for you. I can give the procedure established by to fulfill the objective, then the obligation necessary will be mitigated. That's why it is an obligation of oxygen. Oxygen, it is a coal. According to me, it is a coal, but it is an oxygen. And see, pressure group are bridge between the people's need and government action. What do you mean by greed? Greed means for the self. Need means for the valuable society. If the needs are fulfilled, the greed will be sorrowed. If the greed will be fulfilled, the collective social responsibility will be sorrowed. But for a need, government action is needed. For an action, propagation of the pressure group needed. This is the whole picture. And you know, one emphasis I can say, no one left behind United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goal. There is a mesmerizing phenomena here. You be the charitable, you be the charity, you be the NGO, you lead the SSG. In what way, what propagation, what conquer, what objective, what responsibility, what capacity, that's the matter. It should not above the manner, it should not below the manner, it should be way propagation from the equitable sense. That is the case. Is there any doubt on this regard?